This is Kimmy, and we're about to talk some crime, because I'm always talking crime, and if I'm not always talking crime, I'm always thinking about crime, because I am true crime obsessed, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of you listeners out there are as well. So anyways, I am Kimi Thompson, and I am going to tell you, I was going to say a fun story, but it is not a fun story at all. I have a gruesome story to tell you about today. I guess it's a good story in like a true crime way. Like if you love true crime, then, you might call this stuff like good stories and everything. But let's just suffice it to say that true crime is never good. Murder is never good. This particular story, I need to give you guys a trigger warning that if you do not want to hear about animals being killed, then I will warn you ahead of time when I'm going to talk about that so that you can kind of skip ahead without having to skip the entire podcast episode. But I do understand that talking about animals being killed is super disturbing. And for me, I know it sounds like cold and callous when I say it, but I get more upset about a dog or a cat or any kind of animal being killed than I do a person. Unless it's a child, because obviously like an infant or a child is going to affect me too. But like when it's just like a regular person that can make their own decisions and everything like that, then, of course it's still terrible. But the worst is when it's somebody innocent, like a child, or especially a baby or an animal. So anyways, we're going to be talking about some really nasty, gory, gruesome, morbid shit. Lots of shit. Lots of disgusting, gory shit. So just know that, if this isn't the kind of podcast that you meant to listen to and you clicked on Always Talking Crime for some other fucking reason by accident, I don't know how that could happen. But I just want to give you guys a warning that we're going to talk about all this yucky stuff, okay? So I do want to also mention, I was thinking about it like when I was recording my last episode. I totally realized the next day that I had called my bottle of wine 21 Crimes. And the next day I was walking my dogs and I was like, isn't it 19 crimes? Maybe I drank so much wine that I was like thinking there was 2 more crimes to commit. Why do 19 crimes when you can commit 21 crimes, right? But anyways, it is 19 crimes. So I wanted to clear that up because nobody caught it. None of the listeners that downloaded it, but at least not that I know of. Like nobody like DM'd me or emailed me or messaged me and was like, hey, Kimmy, you crazy bitch, you. So, but anyways, I drink a lot of that wine, so I am so shocked that I was calling it 21 Crimes. But anyways, whatever. Okay, so with that being said, I'm drinking cranberry juice right now because it's 3:30 in the afternoon. And I'm trying to get some shit done. I want to do this episode. I've been looking forward to doing this episode for a while now. And this was actually going to be my second episode originally. And then, remember, I decided to change it to the guy that put his wife through the wood chipper. So, anyways, this one is really disgusting. We are going to be talking about the motherfucker named Luka Magnotta from Canada. He's a Canadian, eh? But I don't like him. I doubt you're going to like him either. If you don't know this story, buckle up. You're in for a bumpy ride. This motherfucker is disgusting. So he had changed his name later on in life as an adult, but he was actually born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman. And he was born on July 24th, 1982 in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. He was the son of Anna Yorkin and Donald Newman. He was the first of their 3 children. And according to him, his mom was obsessed with everything being clean. She would routinely lock her kids out of the house. And he reported that one time, as punishment, she had put all of the pet rabbits out into the cold to freeze to death. What a fucking bitch, right? So, oh, you know what? That wasn't even the trigger. I should have given you a trigger warning even for that, but it gets worse, trust me. So that was nothing. So anyways, I had some pet rabbits too when I was a kid. Me and my sister each had one. Their names were Goldie and Bandit, and they were like super, super cute. Their cage was in our backyard, and before school, we would always like run out there and feed them. And I remember my mom and dad telling me that they were both girls. And then one morning we ran out there and it looked like Bandit was like trying to hump on Goldie. So I don't know. There was never any babies involved. So maybe they were both girls, but we were both like, me and my sister were both like, what the heck? And we had to run and tell my mom and dad. But anyways, that's just a little side note, a little side story for you. But anyways, his mom sounds like a fucking bitch. Now, Luka's dad was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1994. And after that, he was diagnosed with that, he divorced Luka's mom. And then Luka ended up moving in with his grandmother, Phyllis. He attended L.E. Weldon Secondary School in Lindsay. I don't have any idea where that is, but if you're a Canadian, if you live in Ontario or Scarborough, you probably know where that is. In the year 2003, Luka began to appear in gay pornographic videos. This is after working as a stripper. I guess from like what I've heard from different reports, Luka hated being a stripper. He did not enjoy being a stripper at all, and he ended up moving into becoming an escort. And his escort name and his pornographic name, his porno name, was Jimmy, of all things. Like, why the fuck are you going to pick a pseudonym like Jimmy? It's like just so random. I mean, you may as well just call yourself Dick, you know? But anyways, he started doing porn, gay porn. He appeared as a pinup model in a magazine. It was the 2005 issue of Toronto's Fab magazine. I'm assuming that's just like gay related stuff. I'm not sure. But anyways, he was published in a magazine. Let me just tell you straight up right now that Luka Magnotta was obsessed with getting attention, extremely narcissistic. All he wanted was to be famous, to be known around the world. I mean, he was obsessed with it. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. Like, he is the biggest fucking narcissist that I've come across in any stories, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of serial killers and murderers and creeps out there that are narcissists, and Luka Magnotta is one of them. So, going on with my story, in 2007, he was an unsuccessful competitor in Out TV's reality series Cover Guy. He had multiple cosmetic surgeries, and then he also auditioned for the Slice Network television show. It's called Plastic Makes Perfect, in February of 2008. Now, I did see a video of his audition, and it was so cringy. Like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, oh, yeah, so many people describe me as being unbelievably gorgeous or unbelievably handsome or something like that. So it was like totally something fabricated because nobody was saying shit about him. He never even was like a successful competitor in Cover Guy. He was not chosen to be on Plastic Makes Perfect. All he did was like kind of talk about all the different plastic surgeries he's had and the ones that he was going to get. And obviously the producers could see what a big giant douche canoe this dude was. And they said, thanks, but no thanks. Now, before trying to get on those TV shows, he had some early criminal activity. And let's just talk about that for a second. So in 2005, Luka Magnotta was convicted of 1 count of impersonation and 3 counts of fraud. So Sears Canada, The Brick, and whatever 2001 audio video is, I don't know what that is, but they all like convicted him or like complained of fraud because he impersonated a woman to apply for a credit card. And I guess that she was like, I don't know if she was autistic or she did have something wrong with her. Like she had the brain of like an 8-year-old girl, even though she was in her mid-20s. So he had like started a sexual relationship with her, getting on her good side, only to talk her into applying for credit cards, so that he could use them. I've also heard reports that he fraudulently opened up the credit card accounts, and that could be correct as well. But the bottom line is he was having a relationship with this chick to get close and kind of manipulate the whole situation. Either he stole her credit cards or he, got her to apply for credit cards. But he purchased over $10,000 worth of shit on this girl's cards. I guess that he had also not been convicted of, but he had also been to court for, I couldn't think for a minute because there's a house being built next door to me, like across the street, and I keep hearing all these power tools. So I have a sneaking suspicion that you're going to be able to hear them also, and I apologize, but I'm just going to keep recording, and if you hear it, if that sound happens a little bit later on when I'm telling you about one of the murders, then it'll be perfect timing, but it's not perfect timing right now, and it kind of like made me lose my train of thought. But anyways, I was telling you that he had to go to court because he was being accused of sexually abusing that girl, and the charges ended up being dropped. I don't know if they couldn't prove it or if she, didn't, want to testify in court against him. I don't know why he was not convicted for that, but I do know that police and people from the courts all agree that if he had been punished for that crime when it happened, like everything later on, all the rest of the story that I'm about to tell you would have probably not happened. Everything would have changed. It would have changed so many people's lives. So that's just crazy. Like, it's just a domino effect. Like, if something good happens or something bad happens, like whatever happens after something happens, it's just such a huge, it blows my mind when I think about it. But anyways, he got away with raping this girl and was only sentenced to, it was a conditional sentence on the fraud charges and the impersonation charges. He had 12 months of probation, which was nothing. So it was just a little slap on the hand, oh, don't do that again, Luka. And in fact, at this time, he wasn't even Luka yet. He didn't legally change his name from Eric to Luka Magnotta until August of 2006. So I'm sure that he chose that name because he was trying to get into modeling. He was trying to become famous. He was trying to become well known. He was like opening all these different fucking like Facebook accounts and Facebook groups about Luka Magnotta. So this is crazy. So this is how narcissistic and nutso this dude is. He had like 75 or 80 different Facebook profiles under various names. I don't know if they all had like the same password. How the fuck do you remember all these different things? He must have had like either one hell of a memory or like a little handy dandy notebook nearby with, you know, it all written in. But not only that, but he like started like a Luka Magnotta fan page on Facebook. Like nobody even knew who the fuck Luka Magnotta was. But he would go on, he would log in with all 75 or 80 of those accounts and have conversations with himself. Like one profile A and profile B, would post stuff on the Luka Magnotta fan page, and they would be discussing Luka Magnotta and how hot he is. Like, that's what he would always say. Like, he's so hot. And he had, like, this very interesting way of texting or typing on the keyboard, which was very... it was very easy to be able to tell when it's Luka, and it's still easy to tell because, honestly, guys, he still goes on the internet to read about himself. Hopefully that motherfucker listens to this podcast episode and can hear me say, fuck you, Luka Magnotta. You fucking suck, and I cannot stand you. So... anyways, let's move on. He always types or texts a word, and then he leaves a space before he'll put like 2 exclamation points. There's always a space between the last word and the punctuation. So whether it's a period, it's usually exclamation points, and there's usually like 2 of them. So he still posts on like Reddit and stuff like that on occasion. So, you know, he's in prison. I'm going to give you all the details, but he does have access to the computer. He does have access to things like this. So again, fuck you, Luka Magnotta. You suck. Okay. So I told you about all the different profiles that he was creating over the years. Not only did he make that fan page about himself, probably various fan pages, not just the one, but he started a fucking rumor about himself just to get attention, which is super disturbing because the rumor in 2007 that he started about himself was a claim that Luka was in a relationship with Karla Homolka, who was that Canadian convicted serial killer. Her and her husband, Paul Barnardo, the Ken and Barbie killers. I'm sure I'm going to be doing a 2 or 3 part episode about those motherfuckers somewhere down the road. But for right now, I'm trying to keep my cases at like 1 episode per case for now, and then, you know, venture into the 2-parters and the 3-parters later on down the road. But I know that they are on my list of stupid fucking asshole murderers to talk about. But anyways, Luka started this rumor himself and then acted like he was so upset. He went to the Toronto Sun even and like went up to a reporter and said, well, I just came here to discuss this because there's a rumor going around that, you know, I'm dating Karla Homolka, which is totally fabricated and untrue, and I'm unable to get work as a model because of this rumor. So it's just really weird. I mean, it was like a roundabout way to get attention and to get recognition, and he didn't give a fuck if it was like positive or negative attention. He just wanted attention. We know people like this, right? Think of a person that you know like this and visualize yourself punching them square in the fucking face for a moment. All right, so anyways, after these ridiculous claims of cyber stalking, blah, 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 he started doing some really, really sketchy shit. The first piece of sketchy information that I'm going to give you, trigger warning, this is the animal part, so if you don't want to hear it, I would skip ahead a little bit. I'm going to be discussing 3 different videos, so it's not going to take me too long, but probably skip ahead about 2 minutes, I would guess, okay? So in December of 2010, a video showed up on the internet, and it was titled "One Boy, Two Kittens." And it showed a man, like it didn't show his face very clear, but it showed like these 2 like super cute kittens on his bed. And then the video shows him putting the kittens inside one of those vacuum seal bags that you actually like can, save clothing and, make more space for your clothing by vacuum sealing it. So that's what he did to these fucking kittens. They were the cutest little kittens. I saw the video on a documentary I'm going to talk about in a minute. They didn't show the whole video though, thank God, because I was in fucking tears. I was crying. I couldn't stop. So he sucked all the air out of that vacuum, out of that bag, out of the vacuum sealed bag. And you can just hear the vacuum. You can hear the sound. And not only did it just suffocate and take all the air out of the bag so that the kittens couldn't breathe, the vacuum sealing, I was told, actually like crushes or collapse the kitten's lungs at the same time. A year after that, he had posted 2 other videos. The first one was a kitten duct taped to a broomstick, and he submerged the cat into a bathtub full of water and videotaped it. And it just kept going until, the kitten drowned. And if you're hopping back on here because you skipped ahead, skip ahead 1 more minute, because I only got through 2 of the videos and I have to discuss the other one. So skip ahead if you don't want to hear the details of this last one. The third video was also super disturbing. I hate this person. I hate Luka Magnotta so much. So there's a cute little kitten. It was like a black kitten. And the part that like made me, the whole thing made me mad, but the thing that like bothered me the most is that he did the same thing to the black kitten that he did to the 2 kittens that he put in the vacuum bag. He like was kind of playing with it on the bed, and he like gave it like a little scratch on its head. And if I remember right, he gave it like a little kiss on its head or something, but he was like loving on it for a second. He was wearing a Santa hat, and of course, again, you couldn't see his face clearly because it was like super blurry, but you could totally tell it was the same guy that was in the first video for sure. The second video of the bathtub didn't even show a person. It just showed the broomstick and the kitten duct taped to it. So he puts the cat down, and all of a sudden you see like a huge python on the bed. And so basically, nature, what's going to happen from there, but he videotaped it. So he videotaped the fucking python eating the little kitten. And it was just so fucking disgusting. He was putting these up on the internet. I think it was called like Python Christmas or something like that. I don't know what the bathtub one was called, but it was so fucking upsetting. I happened to see them. I wish I wouldn't have. I only saw the bits and pieces of these videos from the Netflix documentary called Don't Fuck with Cats. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested in watching it, I would just, be real careful. I mean, they're not going to show you the cat's dying or the kitten's dying, but they're going to show you're actually going to see the kittens, and you're going to see the predicament that they were in and how innocent and adorable they are. And you're not going to see them die, but you get to see what the kittens look like. And honestly, like, I can't get the picture of them, their little faces and everything out of my mind. So I didn't like the documentary, and it's not because, of the kittens, the kitten videos or anything. I didn't like this documentary because a bunch of people formed a group, like an alliance on Facebook, which was cool, trying to find out who did this, who was, the kitten killer. And they were all working together, trying to figure out, what part of the world he was located, and that was all crazy and everything. But what I didn't like about it, and I stopped watching it, is they accused somebody else in some other country of being this person that uploaded the videos, and that person ended up committing suicide. So as soon as that happened, and they kind of glossed over that part in the documentary, and I was pissed. Like, I'm like, okay, so these fucking assholes just blatantly accuse, and they were like harassing him about being the kitten killer. And he wasn't even the kitten killer. I don't even remember all the details on why they thought it was him. But this dude straight up committed suicide because of these fucking assholes that, they weren't even right in their claim. They didn't even have the right person. And eventually later on, everybody found out, it was Luka who was doing it. But nobody found out it was Luka until he went on to murder a human being instead of a person. And that happened in the year 2012. May of 2012 is when he decided that it was time for him to graduate from killing kittens to killing people. And he had been warning people, actually, that the next time you see a video from me, it's going to have a human in it and not just pussies, or something to that effect. So let me tell you about who he killed. The victim, his name was Jun Lin. He was also known as Justin Lin, and he was born on December 30th, 1978. Lin was an international student from Wuhan and an undergraduate in the engineering and computer science faculty at Concordia University in Montreal, Quebec. So he sounds like he was like super smart. He enjoyed school. He was excited about being in Canada. He had been studying in Montreal since July of 2011. So he hadn't been there, even a year. He had been there, for about 10 months before he was murdered. His parents were like super nervous about him, being in Canada. But he, always told them, don't worry about me. I'll be safe. Nothing's going to happen. And the sad thing is that in China, or Chinese heritage, the children always take care of the parents as they age. And the sad thing is that Jun Lin was an only child. And the fact that Luka Magnotta murdered him just devastated the rest of his parents' life. Because now, they don't have their son alive, to love, first of all, and to see him graduate from college and get married and have children and, succeed in life and, all these things, all these milestones that parents love to see for their children. But it's not just that. It's just like they're not going to be able to rely on, being taken care of by their son when they're too old to take care of themselves. So I found that like a really sad part of the whole story. So I do want to mention real quick that All of Lin's friends described him. They remember him as being positive and genuine, which is such a stark contrast to his killer, Luka Magnotta. His friend Benjamin, who called himself Lin's best friend in that documentary, he said that Jun Lin was reliable. He said that Jun Lin would always let his closest friends know if he was going out of town. So when he went missing, like, everybody knew that was so out of character for him because he would have let everybody know. They also said that he was reserved and shy. Now, one thing that I want to mention is Jun Lin was gay, but he was not openly gay. And this kind of drew him to Canada because of the country's reputation as being more liberal and a more accepting place. So his parents didn't know that he was gay, and he just felt like his parents would be super upset and very disappointed in him. So he, I guess, never came out of the closet with them, and he just kind of kept to himself and was just kind of quiet about his sexuality. So Lin's family had been pressuring him to marry a woman. I guess that Jun Lin had been dating somebody previously, but they had broken up, and then he had a boyfriend at one point, but they had broken up just a couple of weeks before he was murdered. So some of his friends also said that Jun Lin had a cat that he loved, and it was like his little baby. And I can relate to that. I'm sure all of you, animal lovers can relate to. So anyways, the part that I didn't really want to talk about, but then again, this is a true crime podcast, so we need to discuss the actual murder. On May 25th, there was a video that showed up on the dark web on a website called Best Gore. I think it's a Canadian site, but it's called Best Gore. It's still up and running today. This video is not on there. I'm sure the video is somewhere on the web, but I really wouldn't recommend trying to find it because who the fuck wants to see this? So many people saw this video and didn't know that it was real. So there was like all this talk, all this big hoopla online about, is this real? Is this fucking real? No, it's fake. So of course, Luka was getting exactly what he fucking wanted. He was so vain and he wanted all this attention. So he was getting it. He was getting lots and lots of attention because so many people, there were so many hits on this video. It was 10 minutes long. And the name of the video was called One Lunatic, One Ice Pick. So one thing that I did notice, that all of these videos, like one boy, two kittens, one lunatic, one ice pick, stuff like that, it was like kind of a play on that Two Girls, One Cup video. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I never ever watched it. I never ever will, but I do remember back in the day hearing about that gross pornographic video. I can kind of think about in my head what it might entail, but I've never ever watched it. But anyways, he was kind of copying the Two Girls, One Cup by saying one lunatic, one ice pick. So, all right. So here's where it's going to start getting pretty graphic. Okay, you guys. Here's a description of what's happening in the video. So the video opens to the song True Faith by the band New Order. I kind of remember that song. I remember when I first read this, I was like, what song is that? So I went and listened to it, and okay, I recognized the song. I think that was out in the 90s, but I never really knew the band New Order very well. But anyways, I had heard the song many, many times. So one interesting thing is that song also plays at the opening of his favorite movie ever, which is called American Psycho. And let me give you a side note. I used to be engaged to a guy that I just call the psychopath now. And American Psycho was also his favorite movie, his self-professed favorite movie. So there you go. I was probably engaged to a fucking murderer or potential serial killer because he was fucking nuts. So anyways, moving right along with my story. All right, let me get back on track here. So from the vantage point of the video camera, you can see a man who is naked and tied by the wrists and the ankles to the bed. There's also a Casablanca movie poster on the wall behind him, like kind of above him on the wall, above the bed. And there's a man standing near him, which is Luka Magnotta. The man strokes the nude man, which is Jun Lin, okay? So Luka is stroking Jun Lin in a gentle manner in the same way that he did with the videos of the kittens. Okay? So he's like giving, being gentle and like giving like love or like being loving or, like he cares, but he fucking doesn't. So Jun Lin gets stabbed with a knife at least 100 times. So then Luka Magnotta slices off part of Jun Lin's body with a steak knife. So he's stabbed 100 times, okay? Then he slices part of his body off with a steak knife. It gets worse. He had a small dog in the room with them. I guess it was a black and white dog. I didn't see the video. I would never watch the video. If you find it, please don't even look for it. Like, why the fuck do you want to see that? Like, it shouldn't be seen. Like, I feel like I don't want to try to seek it out and watch it because it would be so disrespectful to Jun Lin and his family. It's not a horror movie. It's something like real life, like watching somebody actually die in this horrific way is not anything that I want to do. So, anyways, the puppy, the little dog that was in there, could be heard whining, and Luka Magnotta was feeding the puppy parts of Jun Lin's body. So investigators later said that there were signs of cannibalism found on Jun Lin's body, but the video doesn't show Luka Magnotta eating any of Jun Lin's body parts. So some of the things that Luka Magnotta did do was sodomize and commit necrophilia on Jun Lin after he was dead, but not until he decapitated Lin and sawed off his arms. So by the end of this video, Magnotta had sawed off both of Jun Lin's arms, his right leg, and nearly severed his left leg. So Jun Lin moved his head and arms, I guess, if a couple times, like in the first few minutes of the video. But it's unclear if he was even conscious at the time of the stabbing. Nobody knows. Hopefully he was just put out of his misery, quickly. And, I'd like to, think that, he was on some kind of drug or something that would have made it so that he didn't, feel everything. Do you know what I mean? I do also want to mention that although that video is traditionally known as One Lunatic, One Ice Pick, it's been posted under different names in the past as well. A couple of the names reported, it's called One Ice Pick or Time to Shake Things Up, and I don't know where that comes from, but So the day after this video was put on the Best Gore site, an attorney from Montana attempted to report the video to Toronto police, his local sheriff, and the FBI. But the report was dismissed by all officials. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was because it was, like everybody was saying, it was out of their jurisdiction and stuff like that. Best Gore viewers even attempted to report the video. Could you imagine, like, watching something and then, like, it's disgusting, like somebody getting stabbed 100 times, decapitated, dismembered, sodomized while you're dead, and then, like, somebody feeding parts of a person to a dog? Imagine seeing that. Like, I can't even imagine, like, what was going through people's heads, like, realizing that really happened. But it was being reported. The police later confirmed the video as being authentic and identified the victim as the same one whose body parts were sent in the mail. Let me get to that part, guys. So, Jun Lin was reported missing. His friends reported getting a text message from his phone at 9 p.m. on May 24th. His boss became suspicious when he didn't show up for his shift the next day. So 3 of his friends went to his apartment on May 27th, and then that's when he was reported. No, he was reported to being missing on May 29th, okay? So they were able to figure out who he was. The first thing that happened is that a janitor discovered a decomposing torso inside a suitcase that was left in a pile of garbage in the alley behind an apartment building in the Snowdon area of Montreal. So this was actually the apartment building of Luka Magnotta, okay? So pile of garbage. I remember I read something about, like, the janitor said that he had seen, the suitcase out there for a while, but he hadn't been able to get to that pile of garbage and remove it. But it was starting to stink really bad. He was noticing, like, a terrible odor, and there were, like, all kinds of, like, flies and everything, like, around the suitcase. So upon searching the scene, police recovered the human remains, bloody clothes, and papers identifying who he was. And, in fact, identifying Luka Magnotta as well. And then also the sharp and blunt objects from the alley, like anything that had been used in the murder, those were all found, like the knife. Unfortunately, warning about animals, skip ahead about 10-15 seconds if you'd like to. But as they were going through all the trash, that little black and white puppy's dead body was found in a trash bag in that pile of garbage. So that was really sad too. Okay, so the torso was found. No head, no arms, no legs, no hands, no feet, no anything, okay? So it gets worse, guys. It gets way worse. On May 26th, 3 days before Jun Lin was reported missing by his friends, wait, my bad. I said the wrong day. It was actually May 29th. So a package that contained just a left foot was delivered at the national headquarters of the Conservative Party of Canada. The package was stained with blood. It had a foul smell, of course. I mean, you think? And it was marked with a red heart symbol on the outside of the package. Another package containing a left hand was intercepted in a Canada Post processing facility addressed to the Liberal Party. And then the other foot and the other hand were actually sent off to like 2 different schools, which like is just disgusting. And I guess like one of the secretaries was about to open up one of the packages, but then she, discovered like such a disgusting, decomposing smell that, she just reported it to the police or somebody. And anyways, they ended up figuring out, that all of this was done by Luka Magnotta because they had surveillance cameras inside the building when he was mailing out the packages. And then they also got the footage from the surveillance cameras inside his apartment building that was showing him taking all the garbage outside, taking that suitcase outside to the trash, and all of the images matched. So they were putting two and two together rather quickly. So the funny part, if there is a funny part, the funny part of this whole story is that this complete ass clown was so fucking full of himself and wanting notoriety and publicity and wanting to be famous so badly that he was captured. He was actually captured in Berlin at an internet cafe after he had taken off, because he was sitting in the internet cafe reading stories about his dumb fucking self. So he tried giving fake names before admitting who he was. I guess that the guy that was working at the internet cafe thought he kind of looked familiar but wasn't sure. And then it was confirmed when he saw Luka Magnotta like reading about stories about himself. So, because there was a manhunt going on for him. There was an arrest warrant. He, flew, he got away from Canada. I guess first he went to Paris, and then he went to Berlin. I believe it was Berlin, and then he ended up in Berlin, Germany. Berlin, Germany. That's where he ended up. So he went from Canada to France to Berlin, and that's where he fucking got busted, reading about his stupid ass self. But anyways, although he tried giving fake names and not admitting who he was, his identity was confirmed through fingerprint evidence. Yay! So he was in a Berlin court on June 5th. He did not oppose his extradition. There was sufficient evidence to keep him in custody until then, and he agreed to a simplified process. So what's really interesting is that he had to be flown on a Royal Canadian Air Force CC-150 Polaris, which I don't know what kind of plane that is, but if you're all into airplanes, then you know what I'm talking about. But he could not go on like a regular airplane through the commercial airlines because, they were, worried about safety concerns with using the commercial flight and potential legal difficulties if the plane was diverted to another country or something. So he had been in solitary confinement at the detention center until they got back to Canada. So, backtracking for a second, the day that he was apprehended by the Berlin police at that internet cafe, that was June 4th of 2012, okay? So, it was like May 25th when he murdered Jun Lin. Caught on June 4th. 2 days after that is when Jun Lin's family arrived in Montreal. So everybody at the university established a fund to help them with expenses. An award was created in Jun Lin's honor, which I think is beautiful. And of course, there was a candlelight vigil held as well. Lin's body was cremated on July 11th. And his ashes were buried on July 26th at the Notre Dame something cemetery. I don't know French. But anyways, his ashes, were buried in Montreal, which is kind of cool that he, got to be laid to rest in Canada because he really loved Canada so much. And you know what? I never even mentioned to you guys that he had met Luka Magnotta from a Craigslist ad. Craigslist is bad. I never mentioned that. I totally forgot that part of the story, but he fucking met Luka Magnotta by responding to a Craigslist ad to hook up, guy on guy type hookup stuff. So that's how Jun Lin ended up at that motherfucker's apartment to begin with, tied to the bed and murdered in such a horrific way. So he was apprehended on June 4th, brought back to Canada, and on June 19th, Magnotta appeared in court by a video link, and he pled not guilty like a fucking asshole. But he pled not guilty, but on June 21st, he did appear in person at a high security courtroom in Montreal, and he requested a trial by jury. So the preliminary hearing didn't even start until March 11th of 2013. So that kind of shit takes a while. So he was in prison, well-deserved, waiting. Jun Lin's family was at court for the trial. 6 tools were recovered inside Magnotta's apartment, and they were analyzed by ballistics experts. He said that none of them could be definitively linked to the killing, and that no skeletal marks suggested that the screwdriver found or the scissors found were used. But some of them were consistent with the saw found and the knife found. So, whatever. Take that for whatever you will. So Magnotta had told a psychiatrist who interviewed him about the night he killed Jun Lin that a person named Manny was there urging him to kill. It was then determined that this name and Magnotta's different aliases were inspired by Sharon Stone's fictional character in the movie Basic Instinct, which was one of his other favorite movies. Besides American Psycho, he loved Basic Instinct, and that's exactly why he took off to go to Paris when he left Canada. And that stupid asshole, which I'm glad he's caught, but if you're on the run from police and you're flying to another country, why would you use a passport in your own name so that they can find you more quickly? That made no sense. That's just a little side note, backtracking, but side note. He was actually found by the experts, the psychologist, that he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia as a teenager. He had borderline personality disorder with histrionic traits. He had antisocial personality disorder. He was paranoid schizophrenic. And I want to say that's all, but isn't that fucking enough? Yeah, I don't understand how he had all of these things going wrong and nobody in his life ever urged him to seek medical care. Because, I'm not going to shame anybody for mental illness, because I struggle with mental illness myself, and so do other people in my family, friends of mine, so on and so forth. But if his own dad was schizophrenic, so everybody knew that he had a high potential to also be schizophrenic, and all these other things that were happening. So maybe there is something to his claim about how his home life, his childhood, was not good, and maybe he just did not have anybody to support him in getting help for his mental illness. Now, that is not it's okay that, he did this, too bad that he was mentally ill, and if he wasn't mentally ill, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that at all, because he is a fucking asshole and deserves to be in prison forever. That's actually what is happening. He is going to be in prison forever. So the trial was 12 weeks long, and it included 10 weeks of hearing the testimony. There was a jury of 8 women and 4 men. They received their final instructions from the trial judge on December 15th, 2014, and they were all sequestered before beginning deliberations the next day. It took them 8 days of deliberation before they returned a verdict of guilty on all charges. Magnotta will serve a mandatory life sentence and will be eligible for parole after 25 years, but this motherfucker's never getting out. He will be in there forever. He is also sentenced to 19 years for other charges to be served concurrently. So he had filed for appeal and a new trial ordered, for the convictions to be annulled, all that kind of stuff. He had cited judicial error in jury instruction. The appeal further claimed that the verdicts are unreasonable and unsupported by the evidence and the instructions. But then he went and withdrew the appeal on February 18th, 2015. So somebody must have talked some fucking sense into him by saying, listen, you're a fucking asshole. We proved you did it. You are guilty. You are going to prison. Like, let's just pray he never gets out. I guess I celebrated a little bit too early by saying he's going to be in there forever. But he better fucking be in there forever, for sure. For sure. I mean, then again, this is Canada. So, oh my gosh, what if he gets out, guys? No, he can't. Oh my God, I'm going to die if he gets out. So anyways, real quick before I end this episode, Magnotta married another inmate in 2017. Now, don't take offense if you're Canadian listening to this, but from the sound of things, Luka Magnotta's time behind bars hasn't been all that bad, because in 2015, he was able to sign up for, an inmate dating website called Canadian Inmates Connect. What the fuck, Canada? Like, why the fuck do you have a dating site for prisoners? I mean, that's fucked up. On June 26th, which I hate because it's my birthday, on June 26th of 2017, Magnotta married fellow inmate Anthony Jun Lin. Magnotta's mom, Anna Yorkin, was witness at the ceremony. So it has been reported that the two were not granted permission to use the private family visitation center or have any kind of cohabitation, by the Correctional Services of Canada. Thank God. Like, why should they be able to? Like, they're both fucking, in prison. They should be, why does it seem like they're not, actually being punished? It's also been reported that, from what Luka said, we have movie nights. We all have our own TVs. I have a painting class and I exercise a lot. I also practice language studies. What the fuck? It also sounds like he's really familiar with current celebrity gossip and pop culture. So that's pretty good evidence and a good sign that he's gotten access to the outside world from his prison cell. So, he's on the computer. He's reading about himself. He's probably still posting and starting shit about himself. And now my dogs are going to go crazy and start barking. But at least it's the end of the episode. So, again, Luka Magnotta, if you listen to this episode, fuck you. You suck. I hope you die in prison. Jun Lin didn't deserve to die. You're a complete fucking motherfucker. And all of my listeners think so as well. But anyways, guys, until next time, always stay obsessed about talking crime. Don't whisper. Don't chat. Just be the kind of person that never shuts up about it. Bye-bye.